Well, we did it again.
We made a movie.
In 72 hours. For the 6th year in a row.
We all kind of guessed the theme. We saw that chalkboard and said blank slate. Mm-hmm. And then I think Clark and them said like, "Oh, the poster has nothing to do with the criteria." We're like,
big fat liar. That's what he is.
And we almost had the second half.
Yes, I said like maybe they're gonna do a team fruit basket mix-up kind of thing.
Okay, so launch night.
Yeah, so we went up there and you picked a number at random.
I yelled numbers at you like it was The Price is Right. The first number that caught my eye was I think 257, which ended up being our number. So when they pulled that, I was like, oh, 257's gone. So then 202, I don't know, it's a nice palindrome. It ended up being Skybox Media, and we were pretty excited about that because it was Matt, and Matt had helped us on Capsule,
right?
A few years ago, and yeah, so that was fun to be able to work with Matt. Now, in the end, he had too many issues; he wasn't able to finish it, but it was still
losing location is pretty hard.
Yeah, so we were really bummed about that, but initially it was cool. There were definitely a lot of people saying like, oh, it was really great to work with this team, and so that was kind of cool to see how many people really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. We were trying to figure out like what they actually wanted out of a 2-part movie. Or like we said, like, oh, you could do like a grindhouse. We had like 2 short horror films, or you could do like a 2-part movie. But then we're like, well, how do you split up all the roles between the teams? So yeah, it became. You said it best. This criteria was a logistics challenge, not a creative challenge.
We really wanted to do a period piece. Matt didn't have those same resources or didn't want to, whatever the reason. So to make our connective tissue work, we had to have some sort of immortal character, or at least in our minds, that was kind of or time travel. Yeah.
He wrote his script Friday night. We wrote ours all day. He wrote his script Thursday night. We wrote ours all day Friday. And we just said like, hey, we're gonna write a bit slower, but here's the connective tissue. I remember so many times I'm like, I just want to throw this bard out. I'm gonna throw immortality out. It's too distracting. And you said, well, that's a connective tissue. I'm like, that's right. So they did operate like criteria in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't.
Sorry, Steve. I was trying to cut you out of the movie.
It wasn't a total free for all. There were some limitations based on the criteria. Whatever time we spent trying to work with another team was time that we would have spent trying to figure out how to make whatever other criteria it was work. So even though we had the idea of the night going into it, if it had been some sort of theme where we had to have some sort of modern day device or person or some element in it that's like a modern day thing, or just didn't fit with our story or our ideas of, we didn't really have a story, but just that didn't fit with kind of our ideas going into it, we would have had to take that time to figure that out anyways.
That's true. That's a good point. We all got spun up on the green screen to make the most unnecessarily complicated credit sequence ever.
It's so epic though. It's so epic. It was lunchtime, and so it was like, all right, people just eat, and we'll grab people one at a time and throw them on the thing, spin them, and it was pretty quick. I think we had everyone done in like 30 or 40 minutes. And then when people were done eating and they were done being spun, they would get their stuff ready, because then we were on the move to the next 2 locations.
So we went to Gathland State Park and the Washington Monument. That was not a good use of time. It looks good, but like if you wait like how much we got from it versus how much time it took, yeah. We did not end up filming at the top of the tower because it was a really high wall. So even on Vish, it's like you can't even see over. So there's a lower wall that looks way better. But this couple was sitting there, not moving, and they're like, we can go tell them to move. And every time I got closer, the guy was like, and so they're gonna see how long she lasts in the home. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No photo bombs in the whole thing, and people jumping in the background or anything?
Well, no, because like the other side of where Vish was looking was like a sheer drop to rocks.
Okay. So I didn't know if you did something down lower.
I like that view too. Like, I mean, in addition to the tower being too tall, I also think it adds like a different kind of vibe. It looks more like he's on like castle grounds as opposed to on the top of a tower.
It adds a ton of production value.
It does.
For that one shot.
And then that's when I said, hey, can you find us a death scene near the Bard Forest? And he said, we found a park. Because everyone talked about how great they loved the death, him giving up and dropping his armor. That's where me and John, our DP, split up. He went to get really good shots of DL with the armor, which is some of the best stuff, the Berserker. Mm-hmm. Some of the best stuff there. And then that quick shot of him I had originally blocked him giving up seeing all these like blocking moments. I'm like, okay, just go. And then Vish like instinctively just fell to his knees. And like, that's what I figured about St. Film Fest races is like, if I start the day shooting from the hip and trying to get as much good footage as I can, it'll end up being better than trying to get like every shot perfectly crafted. So
Yeah.
because that was shot as a stupid park. It like had cut grass, it had saplings, it had slides over here, but like, oh, there was some wild growth over here.
I found one spot that was like, you could see mountains in the distance, and there were no houses, no electrical
It was
lines.
facing the sunset.
Yeah, it was facing the sunset. I was like, this is going to be beautiful.
Muy perfecto. With like the slow-mo and him fighting is like the stupidest behind the scenes ever, because it's just me holding the camera going, okay, fight. We originally had swords behind him, like Tom was gonna move swords, and it looked good, but we were all laughing so hard. I was like, I don't have to frame Tom out. It's just so funny how like his performance and the costume and the lighting, and then just crank the shutter speed up to look like, Saving Private Ryan, to use an old example. And it's like, man, it's stupid sometimes how it's like, I hate that this is working, or I hate this looks so good, because you're not really.
I think that was one of the best well, there were two instances where we got one person on Instagram that saw our trailer said, how is this made in a weekend? It looks like this is a full production. And then a colleague of ours that's in the industry said, this looks like this took 72 weeks to make, not 72 hours. So that was like the production value from those things, like, I think really, it was nice to hear that from fellow filmmakers.
But then, so the sun was going down, and we decided that I should go back to the office and start doing the visual effects.
And I was like, I should start cutting the film.
So we went over to the Bard location, which is a friend of ours' house, and the setup looked really good. Dave bought a barrel.
And Anna had made
those little totems that tell the story. So I kind of like blessed the setup, and it came out great. But like, it is the bulk of the movie, and we gave it like an hour and a half in the pure dark to film.
I feel like that happens every year, though. There's always something that we're like, why did we not give more time to that? The Bard scene looks as good as I think it could have in that time frame and everything, right. But it there's so much more I would have liked to have done with that.
Yeah, then you took over. What happened?
You've always tried to push me to direct before, and I've always said no, but it was one of those instances where I was like, he has to get back and work on the visual effects. Having Jonathan there to film it, Tom there for lights, and I think he also ended up it was a combination of people doing audio. And Anna was there for props, and Steph was there for costumes, and you were there for support and whatever we needed. And just having the right people around made it less scary.
It was almost 9 o'clock when
by the time we got back, yeah. Oh, well, also, Bonnie was over watching our kids, and I didn't want her to keep her out way too late. So, yeah, it was just like, we did it as quick as we could. One mistake that we made was while you guys were filming at Gathland, we went over to the Bard location early, set everything up. We were ready way before you guys ever got there. And we had made a torch, and we went to film that scene, and we lit that torch. And then like halfway through the scene, because Steve ran all the lines and all the motions at once, it was like a 7-minute filming scene. We realized we're not even seeing the torch in the shot. Why did we light the torch for this? So then we had to like try and figure out, okay, we had to get the torch reset, rewrapped, soaked.
Re-soaked with the...
And so we were able to get it in a later shot. It wasn't as good, so that was a bummer, but we still got it in there. We filmed DL's stuff first so he could get out of his armor, and we didn't end up using those shots. They admittedly were silly looking. I think we could have made it work if we could have put him like way further away in the frame and just done blackness around him, but
we originally had an idea too, like we had LED eye lights, which actually another team had a figure with LED eyes, or like there were digital eyes. I'm like, that would have made it spooky.
So you guys go back to the office.
Robin starts cutting the film.
I was here a little later than I was last year.
Yeah, we stayed pretty late. I was up till like 3. You were up till...
I was up till probably... I think I left at about 4:30.
Okay, so and Jonathan was up till about like 2:30 or 3 himself. I was doing visual effects, creating the set behind Vish and behind Amanda, and getting like the lighting to look right. I did that most of the night.
There were things that made it tricky to make work. It sort of did remind me a little bit of Sophia,
Mm-hmm.
not in that it was too short, but in that there were things that made sense on the page but didn't quite work when you put them together.
This has happened a number of years where we've had like a surprise extra post-production person. So we asked Jonathan to come be the cinematographer because he and Brian work really well together, and he's great at what he does. And he was like, I'm here for the whole weekend. He had something on Friday morning, but then after that he was like, I am here. I'm going to be here for post-production. So we set up a cot for him so he could sleep here. And so that worked out so well to have that extra person that could work on all
3 machines going, yeah.
Yeah. When Rob and I worked on the credits, we had 4 machines going.
Sure.
So most years I end up doing the credits, and I really like that because I get to do some editing, like a little bit of editing and a little bit of post-production work that I don't normally get to be a part of. It was fun then to collaborate with Robin, and it was perfect because John was working on some sound, I think.
Yeah.
He was working like really intently on sound.
He was working on this award.
You were working on visual effects, so we had picture lock, and Robin basically didn't have a whole lot to do during the time because he was on your machine. And so it was like, well, the credits are even more complicated than usual. So I took on doing all the text. She did all of the editing of the cast and crew on the spinny thing and adding the background, and that was a nice collaboration to put that together. It just turned out so good.
It was weird. We usually do sound together, as it was weird to just pass off to John and not hear anything until we married it all together. And that's also where it came to life, because I did a color grade in Premiere this time using Lumetri, not DaVinci, just for time's sake.
Yeah.
And when it all came together, we kind of got to watch it for the first time. Like, hey, it's like a movie. I started doing VFX shots, and they were still changing. Like, oh, that shot changed. Like, I'm gonna wait till it's all done. So by the time I started rendering these visual effects shots, I thought the Queen was gonna be the most elaborate because she had a lot of dust layers and light layers and stuff. And hers took probably a couple hours. But then Vish's, when I first hit the renderer, he had more shots. Actually, I didn't realize that it was gonna be like 9 hours. I was like, uh-oh.
And we would have still had to then export the movie. And
So I did what younger Brian would not have done in the 48. I said, well, let's just key it, because if it's just an actor on black, that's better than an actor on green. That was step 1.
Yes.
Then I had the keyed footage. I said, okay, let me just stick him on a background. Okay, got time still? Let me add some light in. Okay, I was just trying to layer it up. I ended up rendering the final for that cut in Premiere, just because After Effects is just done with it. The landscape at that point was just make it not look terrible. So we had to wait 2 weeks for the screening.
Yeah.
So Friday night, the 3 of us went to the screening.
And Dave showed up.
Came in the second half.
Watched all 42 movies. So yeah, Saturday night was a big night. So that's what the whole team showed up. The awards, and that's always just kind of like, I don't know. It's very anxiety inducing because it's not just a personal thing; it's a whole team thing. So you kind of feel like your whole team is waiting with bated breath to see what will be rewarded for. Yeah. Vish was like a celebrity on Saturday night. I could hear the mutterings like, "It's the night, it's the sword man."
Oh well, and afterwards, someone wanted to get a picture of Vish and the guy that played the dog in the winning movie, in the Best of the Fest winning movie. And so I remember being like,
wait, together?
Yeah, together.
Interesting.
Yeah, I liked the end product of this year. I don't know that I liked this theme as much as some other teams did. I don't know that I liked this theme any better than other years. There were definitely other years I liked the theme better. I'm really looking forward to next year, and I know we always talk about trying to film stuff that's not a film race and do our own projects where we have a little bit more time, but ultimately I like doing the film races because they are over and done with so quickly. We do a great job of having a pretty good product that we're proud of, and so I don't know.
You just get one movie a year, right?
If that's the minimum, then great. I'm okay with that. We have young kids, so that makes it harder for us to do more than that throughout the year, and
They're getting older though.
They are, and so maybe we'll get to that. We need to have that inspiration to make something different. So we'll see what happens next year.
Okay, bye.